Yeah, and yeah, everyone, this is Thermite, and this is Across the Spider-Verse. This is the discussion portion. If you want to watch the reaction, which comes first, that's the first link down below. Please check it out. Uh, it is, boy, like, I haven't edited it yet, so I don't quite know how it all shakes out, but I had a fun time recording it. And generally, that means it's a pretty good watch. At the very least, if you want to watch Across the Spider-Verse, but with someone going, damn, that's really cool, oh my god, holy my god, at the very least, I know I did that a whole bunch. My gosh. Okay, my plan is to go through the movie by character, starting with Gwen, because the movie starts with Gwen, and also because, like, most of the characters have some sort of dynamic with Miles. So if I go over everyone else, then I feel like I can hit Miles to, do the final cleanup. But yeah, I mean, starting with Gwen also makes sense considering she's like the entire first, 20 minutes of the movie. Absolutely nuts. So, number one, my gosh. I mean, the art direction in her universe, incredible, fantastic. I love the the emotional change combined with the whole the watercolor aesthetic. It's such a unique combination. Like, they're definitely going for the covers of Spider-Gwen, but I think they truly knocked it out of the park. Because while the whole movie has some of that, like, JoJo's-esque, let's change the color palette in order to, like, change the mood of the characters, like, Gwen's world manages to do that in a way that feels entirely different, even though, it's happening in the same movie as all the other universes that do color palette switches. The difference, I think, is that we tend to focus a lot on, like, the brushwork in her universe, on, like, the way the colors are fading and shifting, how, they start as one gradient and they become a different one. It's also, like, just a more abstract world. Uh, like, uh, yeah, there's the whole, like, talk they have, like, underground, where the backgrounds are changing constantly. Like, like, depending on what the shot requires, it might be more realistic rubble, the, like, lighting might be different, like, the watercolor effect might increase or decrease, or outright the entire background might completely shift. With this bit, like, the paint is coming down and smudging all the colors, like, as, as the despair is setting in. It's so cool. It's so incredibly well done. Like, it truly, it feels like you're watching emotions. That feels like such an insane thing to say, but really, like, every single bit of the visuals, like, perfectly gets across what emotionally is going on in a way that feels, like, just extremely bold and extremely open. While when the rest of the movie does that, there's a layer of, like, subtlety to it. There's a layer of, like, how do you interpret this? Or, like, why exactly are we doing it like this? Or even just, oh, this is a really cool way to do this. Whereas, like, this shot, it truly, truly looks like it belongs in a museum. My god. Also, just want to clarify, because I was definitely confused during the reaction itself. It took me until I, like, went over the beginning a second time to realize fully, like, okay, yeah, this is Gwen from the end of the movie, like, speaking about the events we're about to see. But also, like, visually, it is, like, it's Gwen, like, cooling off from the events of the first movie, both in terms of, like, knowing she can't talk to Miles anymore, but also, like, still grappling with her regret from killing her Peter, and from, like, her dad wanting her dead and all that. It was honestly very bold to intro the movie like that, in that, like, it really, really is, like, it takes you super off guard. I really like it because it also, it feels as jumbled up as Gwen feels in the moment. In general, like, Gwen's definitely the standout, but I think this also applies to, like, it applies to Miles. It even applies to Miguel and whatnot. The movie is insanely good at giving you that feeling of, even if the what you're doing is, like, it's boneheaded, it'd be so much easier to be able to, like, talk to your dad so much easier if you just, like, told him what was up earlier. Same with Miles. I The movie is extremely good at hitting you with the emotions of the characters, making you understand from their emotional perspective why they are doing what they are doing. Like, there's a big difference between a movie or a show or an anything where I have to logically step back and go, well, this person is in high school, and that can explain all their actions, versus one where I don't need to think about it. After watching the media in question, I just go, well, yeah, of course they acted like that. I mean, what else were they supposed to do in that scenario, given their personality, given the situation? Across the Spider-Verse feels like so effortless in terms of like selling you on the characters, while it has an insane amount of effort going into like all the details. I think that's also what's going to make it a really really fun rewatch. The ability to like like once you've untangled all the obvious stuff, there's still plenty of plenty of like weird flashes and whatnot. I imagine like little Spidey references and whatnots to pick up on. Love the use of green and purple with Gwen's Peter falling into the darkness and then switching to the purple of the prom itself, which like is lit very nicely and then is lit more harshly like when he goes on his little rampage. Oh, it's so insanely cool. Like I'll talk about it more when we get to Miles. But the use of the green and purple for like Earth 42 was also extremely well done. There's that constant feeling as we cut from world to world that you can tell something about this place, that like something's going on in a way that isn't just, oh, we went to like the pig dimension, now everyone is pigs. I don't think it occurred to me that the Gwen's dad must have gone to Visions. Like, we don't really know what her school situation is in her own universe. But like this shirt is definitely not one that she had. This is this fits him. He must have gotten it when he was there because it's also like so insanely faded and it's like sweat marked and all that. Like he's been wearing it forever. But that's interesting. I mean, well, to be fair, I guess it depends. Like, was he at, like somewhere akin to the Visions we know about, but their gymnastic section, or by Visions Gymnastic Academy? Like, are we just saying that, in this world, Visions is like, a mainly a like, a place where you would go if you're trying to like do sports or like do other such like physical activity, and that's why he went there. Oh man, Vulture is so cool. He attacked Gwen. It's Gwen's world, so I think it counts to put him in the Gwen section of all things. Oh, but yeah, the Leonardo da Vinci like Vulture is so insanely cool. Love his design, love his abilities. The like hammer space that is also him being able to like draw the blueprints that are himself into existence. It's so insanely sick. My God. Something that didn't hit me until taking a little second view was also that like he's very sketch-like, and I would say that like the Spot has a similar thing going on. Like he's got these like blue markings on him, like he's been drawn and then like they've erased the like the lines, but they haven't like fully managed to erase them. Like he's unfinished, and it feels like there's definitely a parallel there between the two of them. Like they're also like scientists in a sense. There's also, of course, like, the very natural clash, as we talk about in the, this whole section, with this Vulture being, like, the oldest possible Vulture we can do. And, Vulture himself is already an old-ass man in almost every single telling. Versus Gwen, who is very young, and they're fighting in a modern art museum. Like, her world and her style is so hyper-modern and hyper, like, you can't have done, like, how do I put it? It feels like that's a real parallel there. Like, modern art and painting versus ancient art and painting, which then I suppose is like broken up by like Spider-Man 2099 like coming in, and then we have the others as well. But like that's a real like past, present, future thing I didn't really consider until right now. But yeah, I have to respect Gwen's arc because she's going through a very similar arc to Miles. Like, very, very insanely similar in the sense that, it is literally, my dad is becoming police chief, and we have just learned that according to the laws of destiny themselves, an important police chief next to us is going to die. So unbelievably specific. But at the same time, like, I do like that theme, like, as an antagonistic force in this movie. The idea that destiny is there, that, like, the plot is there, the canon is something you can't escape from. Because, it's the kind of like, it feels like a real metatextual, like, attack on the idea of, oh, well, what happens in the movie doesn't really matter, because ultimately it's whatever the writer says. This is really the hard, like, it is that, but it's also the big reversal of, well, what if for a fact, because you are a spider person, that by your very nature, the writer is going to want to do all the old storylines, which means, like, all the, like, he's going to try and cash in on all the various tragedies that could happen to you because they happened to happen to some other guy in a different continuity. It's such an insane problem to have. but I do think it genuinely makes a lot of sense. Like, in a sense, as much as I like the original Spider-Verse, the idea of Miles and like then Gwen by the end of the movie having to fight this entire spider army, and these spiders that are all considering like they are all fighting not. I guess what I would say is that they're fighting for fatalism, but in a way that does make sense. It is a like objective as far as they understand. If you don't protect fate, if fate does not come to pass, much worse things happen. And so it boils down to like, do you sacrifice one person for 1,000 people? And I appreciate that in this movie, we then have multiple spider people who say like, no, I would do both. I would simply save everyone. Because that would be the next thing. If no one says that, then what the hell is going on? Are these even spider people? But multiple people do. And ultimately, like, the ones on Miles' side are the ones who still have hope that you can, in fact, change things. But I think there's also something, to be fair, to the concept of like fatalism within the spider people specifically. Like, we don't bring this up much with Gwen, so this is a bit of a tangent. But like, what is spider sense if not like proof of fatalism, but also a defiance of fate? Like, spider sense is simultaneously telling you you are going to be hit, but the whole purpose of it is that you should dodge and then you will not be hit. Very similarly, like, it feels like you can divide the camp then into those two parts. The half that are going like, we are destined to be hit, and like, just due to the nature of being spider people, due to the nature of needing to suffer, if we don't get hit, a bigger hit is going to happen. In this case, like the implosion of all reality, versus the spider people who would just dodge and just think, well, I don't know what's happening after that point, but we'll figure it out. It's like, surely we can try and save everyone. Surely we can figure this out. In that sense, I think Gwen is, like, you could then frame Gwen running away from her universe, from having to, like, explain herself to her dad, from all of that, as being, like, a big spider sense dodge, but in the bad way. A real, like, I can sense danger in this conversation. I don't want to deal with it. I'm gonna dip. Like, I would say it is core to to any spider, like, especially to Peter Parker. It is core to him that he is, like, he's constantly trying to avoid the worst case scenario, and he's trying to avoid things that are going to be very difficult. He's very willing to say, like, I'll deal with this tomorrow, or I'll deal with this some other time. Like, he will keep on going in, but either he'll forget something and then have to make up for it, or he will just prioritize and then he'll be incapable of explaining what his priorities are. That's something that Miles gets into, and something that Gwen also gets into. Like, she can't explain why she's so tired and depressed and all that to her dad, because fundamentally, having to explain that, it creates this entire scenario that is so much more terrifying than just being quiet and letting everything slowly fall apart. Like, I think then that maps on to, like, the whole end bit where Miles is freaking out because, like, he's finally realized, oh, you've all been lying to me. Like, all of you have known that I am the origin, that I am, like, the initial glitch. I am the initial, like, problem that has caused this entire cascade. And yet you would not bring it up, because similarly, that's a real, like, everyone's just trying to avoid it. They still let him come along. They still talk to him. They clearly wanted to do something. But, like, even 2099 wasn't going right for his throat or anything. We weren't, I'm really curious to hear, like, in the third movie, what was their plan here, really? Like, what was the ideal scenario? Were they planning on just having Miles, like, move to Universe 42? Were they, like, what were we going with? Because I guess you couldn't do that, right? Well, we'll talk more about the more university stuff when we get to 2099, I think. Because that's a whole big can of worms where I don't know what's real and what's not. Next up on the billing, of course, is Jeff Morales. Oh, you know what? I actually don't think it really occurred to me that, yeah, they do say Morales in the movie as opposed to Davis. Like, how do I put it? Like, the comics did the same thing. I get where they were originally going with the whole Jefferson Davis thing, especially as a, like, he is an antagonist to Miles. Like, he is his dad. He is, he's got a complicated situation. But I feel like we just didn't really have a lot of good Jeff stories. I haven't really read a lot of, like, the newer Jeff stuff, just like a little bit of, like, his interaction with Miles' clones and whatnot. I do think the shift from Jefferson Davis to Jeff Morales, it makes sense in the comics. I know they did, like, a whole thing with that. I think it makes a lot of sense that for the movie, they kind of just skim over it. Like, it never, like, bothered me or freaked me out or anything, but my fiance definitely noticed it. I mean, not noticed it. Of course I noticed it. I know a fair number of people all had the same reaction of, like, what is his name again? I'm sorry, what? So it was probably smoother to just, do the it's not even retcon. Like, I imagine in universe, he probably did the same thing he did in the comics. He probably just took his wife's name. But yeah, concerning Jeff and Rio together, I think they were solid in this movie. Like, I appreciate how much they are trying to reach out and how, like, we really get to see from their perspective what is going on with Miles. Like, in the first movie, by the very nature of how the movie plays out, Jeff is an antagonist. Therefore, like, as much as you can feel for him, and as much as I do feel for him, there's a little more friction there. Whereas with the two of them, now that, they don't have to be, like, they're still an antagonistic force, but they're a force where we can fully see what their thought process is every single step of the way. Like, you can see on the roof, they think Miles is just fucking around. They think he's just, like, maybe he's in with the wrong crowd again. Maybe he just doesn't give a shit. Maybe he's literally just, like, sleeping in. Like, what is going on? The fact that he will not defend himself, it's really the big catch-22 of, if you try and defend yourself in a situation like that, they're going to say, stop making excuses. But also, they do want to know what the hell is going on. Like, it is that combination of, you should take responsibility, but at the same time, it is, taking responsibility by just not saying anything digs you into a much deeper hole than if you take responsibility, but you do the big, by the way, here's my deal. This is why I did all that. It does feel really weird, though. I fully understand. Like, I'm like Miles. I 100% have just allowed everyone to think that I suck, because the alternative would be having to stick my neck out and explain a bunch of stuff that was not going to make the situation better, that would make me seem more whiny and more like shitty. But the reverse really is, if you don't do that, then you just seem like a stoic jerk who did all that stuff on purpose. Like, that's really the vibe I get from Miles, like, looking at him from his parents' perspective. Like, they love him. They care about him. They want him to just, do what is right. Follow his dreams, do what he wants. But at the same time, they're constantly thinking, like, I don't trust your judgments. Every time you have to do something like the cakes, or like, like being anywhere on time, like this whole situation, every time we ask, okay, we trust you with this, do the thing, he proceeds to absolutely fuck it up. So, like, why should they trust him when he says, I want to learn about, dimensional travel? But yeah, between the two of them, Jeff, I think, also, like, really sold himself to me, like, when he's talking with Miles, like, it was probably somewhere around here. My God, this movie is so big. But yeah, like, having his whole struggle here, it's so striking. It's so, like, the fact that he is working his ass off to try and support Miles, while at the same time, like, we do play on the fact that, like, they're doing fine. Like, ultimately, they're doing better than fine. Like, we had that with the student advisor who was trying to figure out, like, okay, how do we spin your story? What's going on? They're like, well, listen, we're not that underprivileged, actually. We're doing okay. I also do have to respect the story as a meta-narrative for going with the, like, not just the canon event thing, but specifically being bold enough to be like, yeah, the big danger is, did you ever notice that Miles and Gwen both have dads who could be chief of police? Like, Jeff is, becoming chief of police in this movie, and then he does, and they have the party. Like, Gwen's dad similarly trying to do the, I guess he did become chief of police already, and now he's, like, stepping down. But yeah, it feels like it has the very light stink of, the whole, like, where's Martha? Why'd you say that name? If they had played it just a little bit worse, I think it wouldn't have worked, or I think it would have felt a little silly. But I do think, like, by taking something that's inherently, like, a crazy concept and playing it dead straight, it really does work. My entire emotional process really was, like, as soon as we learned that, it was like, okay, well, Miles, you have to get your dad fired. Same with you, Gwen. Like, you gotta get your dad fired. You don't have to have your parental figure die in this situation. You just need them to not be literally chief of police. That's the one role they can't be in. It's nuts. I guess it also does raise the question of like, oh, did this universe's Gwen already die? I guess so, right? Like we know that prior to Blonde Peter dying, he had like and he had an entire career as Spider-Man. He spent a long time being Spider-Man. He did a lot of the greatest hits. What we saw at the start of the first movie. He did a couple of the climaxes from the various Spider-Man movies even. So I guess in there we kind of have to assume that like his Gwen died. And then like his Gwen's dad would have probably stepped down from being part of the chief, like being the chief of police, or he might have just gotten shot. But yeah, there's an interesting ripple effect situation actually that this is now making me like want to properly talk about, which is that we have the canon events, and we don't really know how that applies to Miles. Like, I can definitely see the anxiety that Gwen might have, that she outright states of, like, in every universe, Gwen dies. Gwen is a character that inherently dies. I'm just from the funny universe where Gwen survives, we do Spider-Gwen instead of Peter surviving. Like, it's something that really, really hit me in the comics really hard. Just that idea of having to exist in an entire multiverse of the person you cared about the most, where it's like, oh yeah, in every other point in reality, he survives. Unless like some real wacky shit's going on. Like yours is the only relatively normal world where he died, and it was clearly just a fun twist of like, oh, what if you were the Spider-Person instead? It could drive you insane. It truly could drive you insane. Oh, by the way, like the tarps in this shot are so cool. It's such an interesting vibe. I don't think I've ever seen a movie like, set over here, even though I've like been to like areas that have been tarped off like this. But anyways, like, I bring that up in reference to Jeff because it raised that question of like, did his predecessor, did a chief of police already die? Did we already do the dead chief of police plotline in this world? Or is it that because Miles is a spider person, it's going to happen again? But the spider that bit him is not from this universe. So, and to be fair, we have, I just realized in Universe 42, like Jeff Morales, or I suppose at that point he would have just been Jefferson Davis. Like he dies, and like, did he become chief of police in that world? Was that like a canon event that still happens? That's a world without a Spider-Man. So do those events still happen in such a world? Because then that raises the question of like, does like Miles have the karma of canon events? Like, will a Gwen near him die? Would that then like rub some bad stank onto Spider-Gwen? Similarly, like, we know why Jeff was going to die. I mean, even if he retires right now, he's still going to die because the Spot is going to murder him. But, like, that feels completely separate from the canon event situation. That feels like that's just the Spot. Similar with the whole situation going on in, in Mumbatan. Like, it is the Spot who makes a giant hole. Like, did Miles, like, saving the chief of police there really cause a big problem? Like, we have the readout saying that it did, but, like, did it really? Or was that just the Spot making a giant hole? Like, it feels very striking that, like, the personal glitching we've seen a lot is a clear, like, yes, that is the consequence of not being from the correct world and being in the, like, a world. But, like, we really haven't seen any I guess the examples we've seen of like trans-dimensional damage are, the portals that suck people through that make just, like random characters pop up in random other dimensions. But even that's not like, like those aren't calamities. They're problems for sure, but they're not calamitous. And even then, it doesn't really feel like, causing those things makes it worse. But again, we do get the flashback with 2099, so maybe that is how it works. It's a whole can of worms. Hopping away from Miles's parents, because I don't know if there's a lot to say there that if there's anything else, I'll bring it up in the Miles section. We got Peter B somewhere in here. Honestly, really appreciated that he did take a real backseat. It's interesting in that, like, I really feel weird about the original cast of the first movie being so insanely sidelined. I understand why, just in the sense of, like, that way, like, you still have the sense of, they stood by and didn't say anything when Miles was, like, being pressured by all the spider people. But you don't have to have them, like, actively betraying him. I guess Penny kind of did. But yeah, it's the kind of thing where I am glad we saw a bunch of other characters instead of like having to focus on the cast of the first film. But it also felt really strange when they showed up. Like, okay, I guess you're still around. Okay, with Peter B. Always happy to see Spidey as a dad. You know, it's a very normal thing to want at this point. I feel like more people do rather than don't want to see Peter old and married. That's just the way it is. You know, the current new Ultimate Universe is doing that. You know, we've had like Renew Your Vows and whatnot. Everyone is super interested in it, but the Spider Office doesn't think it's going to sell. And I truly think a big part of it is also the Spider Office wanting to milk the controversy, wanting to be able to, you know, do things like Renew Your Vows, where they can tease at the idea of like, maybe we'll undo it without having to actually undo it. Or same with Ultimate, like Ultimate, you know, like doing an older Peter Parker who, you know, has had a good relationship, has then like, you know, it creates something more magnetic. It makes the haters into people who are going to vote with their dollars, but they're still at your voting booth, you know? In any case, it was very nice seeing Peter B still being so conflicted. Like, you know, he feels so purely Petery. I think that truly, like, lifting most of the plot away from him really helps because it gives you that feeling of he doesn't have to be doing any of this. He wants to, you know, he wants to be reaching out. And even so, like, it gives you that feeling of like, oh, come on, if you were in this situation, you'd be fighting back the same way. There's no way you would just roll over. Like, you know, you're just too jaded. You care this much about Miles, and yet you won't, like, you know, take the chance on him. But at the same time, I get it. When you have a whole society saying, if you don't let your Uncle Ben die, then the entire world's gonna collapse. I get why you would buy into fatalism. Yeah, Mayday's super cute. I would love to see her either. I don't think enough time is gonna pass for us to see her like being older. But again, there's a whole ass Spider-Verse out there, so we could always just do Spider-Girl like from a different universe. I think that would be an interesting way to like to get Peter B's reaction of like, oh, this is a way my daughter could turn out. Like, you know, it's not a guarantee, but like this is what she would be like in the future. But yeah, glad he had a role. Glad that he didn't have such an insane amount of like of time going through everything. Next, of course, we have the Spot. Boy, what's a good Spot image? Oh, that's a good one. First of all, I think like the various modes they gave him are super cool. Like you've got that one where he's like out of spots. You can like more clearly see all of, like the line work all over him. There's like, you know, his normal spotted up mode. There's like his like inverted mode where he goes like full ass anti-spiral. They did a really good job of playing with expectations, of really doing that real like this could either be the lamest villain or the coolest villain, and we're going to like show you aspects of both. Like ultimately he is, you know, like the big danger. But at the same time, you know, like he's still a goofus and he's still like growing super fast. Like he is such a good parallel to Miles, genuinely. Like of all the characters who are parallels to Miles, I mean, you know, Spot himself brings it up in the movie itself. Like he created Miles by, you know, like getting the you know, the spider to their world. Simultaneously, Miles is the reason why the reactor exploded. He's, you know, the reason why, like, Jonathan got, like, all the Spot energy into his body. And they are, you know, it is the parallel of, like, Miles is the cool one. You know, the Spot is, like, you know, an absolute freak and a Dorcas and a weirdo. And, you know, like, he has none of the benefits. And now that he's, like, you know, now that he's gaining more and more power, he's doing it, you know, as this, like, singular being that can be anywhere, as opposed to the spiders who are like, you know, a multitude of like beings that are theoretically like, you know, all unique, but by the very nature of there being like an infinite number of them, they're much less unique than the Spot, where it seems like there's literally just one of him. Plus, I suppose, yeah, you have then the parallel of like Miles is unique amongst all spider people, and that's, you know, he was not meant to be a spider person in the first place. Like you know, the web of life and destiny really fucked that one up, or rather, like, you know, the particle accelerator like donked it up. I suppose that might also explain why both of them have like energy absorption powers. Like that's something we really highlighted here. Usually with with Miles, like they highlight his invisibility and like, you know, the venom sting, the fact that he can generate energy. Whereas I do think it is actually very distinctive that here he's like absorbing energy more often than not. And that feels a lot like Spot, you know, going to the various Alchemaxes to try and find more Spot energy to absorb it. And the end of the movie is so insanely dense. Like, going over it again, it is very funny that, Spot is basically just doing his own thing on the sideline. Like, so much of the meat of, like, what's going on, it comes down to the bureaucracy. It comes down to Spider-Man 2099. It comes to the Spider Society. Like Miles having to deal with his own, like, identity crisis with the universes and whatnot. We really stick Spot at the end just to go, like, by the way, he's still here. By the way, he's gonna be doing a thing. He's gonna still kill Jeff. Don't worry about it. He's still around. Now that he has gained unbelievable immense power, he can kill one police chief. I mean, he's gonna destroy a lot of other stuff, to be perfectly fair. But you get the idea. But yeah, as someone who has liked the Spot, but I would never have said the Spot is my favorite villain, and I still wouldn't. Definitely not. I do appreciate, like, this take on the Spot. He feels cool. He feels, like, very original, but I can see, like, we're pulling a little bit from the 90s cartoon. We're pulling, obviously, like, from the comics. It feels like, how do I put it? We're also, like, drilling deeper into the first movie, like, going from, like, Kingpin is ordering this, this device to be made that will destroy everything, to then, like, Spot being the embodiment of the device that destroys everything. He is the void. He is the anomaly. He is the portals. That also, of course, gives him an interesting little parallel to Spider-Man 2099 as well. Again, like, I'll save all the 2099 talk for his section because, we know, like, so much of his deal is so, like, I don't know if he's lying or not. I don't know if he's full of shit or not. But, like, the parallel there between him and the Spotter is definitely the portals. The fact that also, like, very clearly Miguel is using Alchemax's, like, technology and Alchemax's, like, wealth and all that. But we have no idea how that's happening. Like, what the fuck do you mean? What's going on? It also helps to be perfectly clear that, like, the characters in the Spider-Verse movies are not the same as the comics themselves. That, it should be obviously stated, like, yeah, obviously they're not literally the same. They're all, like, like, this version of this character. But, like, I think for the Spot and for Miguel, it creates this really interesting scenario in that I simultaneously know their deal instantly because I've read all of 2099, or Spider-Man 2099, I should say. I've read, like, the Spot doing shenanigans a couple of times. I've seen the cartoons, and yet simultaneously I know nothing about either of these characters. Every time we get something new, I go, okay, that's a thing. Okay, that's a thing. Okay, what the fuck is happening? I'm actually very surprised that the Spot was not the film's main antagonist originally. Like, yeah, really curious what they were planning on doing. Like, I imagine they were doing a lot just, by ear. Like, the first movie, again, was such a singular thing. But yet, like, so much of, like, the vibe of the previous movie pays off so well with Spot. Like, he just feels like he fits in perfectly. It's crazy. But yeah, Spider-Woman, she showed up, yeah, in the first 20 minutes for sure. Pretty cool. Don't have a ton to say about her, really. Like, she has a cool vibe. I appreciate, just in general, the movie doing the previous movie was way more like, here's the variety of kinds of spider people that can exist. Given the ones that we are going to send to Miles' world, here's, we're going to try and do the biggest possible spread of energies and personalities and vibes and ages and all that. Whereas, like, this movie is definitely going for, we're going to try and make every spider person you see feel so much cooler and so much more badass. And, as Miles has self-actualized, as he's become someone who can, play with the big boys, we're doing a really hard, he's still not that good. He's no this person, he's no that person. And, we do that with Gwen as well. Gwen is also someone where we really feel like, yeah, she can't be the hottest shit in the world. She feels so like she's trying to live up to that expectation with the whole Spider Society. But yeah, it's interesting that, we specified that, Jess is pregnant and she has, a husband. That's interesting. Also the fact that we didn't really talk about the pregnancy or anything, that feels so insanely, part 1 of 2. It's so, yeah, we're gonna pay this off in the next movie, don't worry about it, she's just around. I bring that up because, of course, in the comics, when Jessica Drew was pregnant, she did, she just used, a donor to get pregnant. It was a clear, I think I'd be a good mom. I think this would, be a big part of my life. I don't really want a partner. I know it's gonna go bad, so I'm just gonna do it myself. I can, responsibly do it myself, / with the help of my friends, with the help of, someone else who will help, caretake my child. But that feels like, so fundamentally different from, like the portrayal here. And I think that makes sense because, to be fair, like a big part of this arc is, like this movie is, again, that fatalism, that real, like, you will like have these events happen in your life. And I think a big part of that has to be like, like having like Jess here go through all the bad canon events as well. Whereas like the Jessica Drew of, like of 616 did not go through all that shit. She still went through some bad stuff, but fundamentally, she is not what you would think of when you think of Spider-Woman or like a spider person. She stands out a lot. And it is very interesting that like in making her way more different in this movie, they've also like put her more in line with, their vision of what the average spider person is. Like in contrast to Miles, who is, like the only one who has this, this very clear, like, outside of everything, situation going on with his powers and his existence in the multiverse. But yeah, I'm really curious how she like connected with Miguel. Like, how the hell did this happen? How is she like the number two? How is she the one who can like, like send Gwen on a whole mission without telling, Miguel with a clear like, yeah, it'll be fine. Like as scary as Miguel is, as like as intense as he is, I have the authority to do this. But yeah, it's not bad to have a character who is more mystery than like statements. But it just stood out right now. Like, yeah, we know so little about her really, and what we do know feels all like, it's begging the question. On the flip side, how do you pronounce Pavtir? I think it's Pavtir. When I was a kid, I said Paviter, and that's definitely wrong. I'm pretty sure I probably said that at the start of the reaction as well. But yeah, as I said, Puppeteer is like the one character besides 2099 I was like spoiled on, and he was as cool as I expected. And I actually do appreciate that, like, his main role is to kind of be, like a parallel to Miles, but not in an antagonistic way. Just in a, like, he is, like the thing we see of here's a newer spider person who, like, is going to experience a canon event and we're going to disturb it. And as a result of that, theoretically, we're going to have some really bad fallout come down. But yeah, like, like Mumbattan is super fucking cool. He's just super cool. I appreciate his quips being like, like again, like, such a parallel to Miles, but also a parallel to like everyone's quips. Like he is like part and parcel the like alternate universe Spider-Man. Everyone else has some variation of like, well, like I'm not quite, like a parallel to Peter Parker. I think that's also actually something I didn't really think about with this movie. That we don't really, like, apart from Peter B. Parker, we don't really have any other Peter Parker Spider-Men who are, like, prominent characters. Like, we've got the alternate Miles, and then we've got, like, Hobie, we've got Paviter, we've got, like, Jessica Drew. Yeah, that's crazy to think about, actually. Like looking at these three, the ones we had at the, like from the previous movie, like Spider-Man Noir is a Peter. Penny is, like not a Peter, but like she's playing off of Peter way more than, the others. And Spider-Ham is Peter Porker. It's such a, like, I didn't really think about that. That, like, this is a movie about the exceptions. Like, Miles being the ultimate universal exception. But everyone else is like, I think that's also why it feels so strange for like the Spider Society to be working against Miles, because so many of the most prominent characters we see are like, they are exceptions in their own rights. They are like, entities where I don't know if there is another one. I was actually very surprised to see, that Miguel went to another universe with a dead Miguel, because that was a real like, oh damn, I kind of thought you might have been the only Miguel. But yeah, with that in mind, it's very funny that, like, Paviter then is the second, like, Peter analog, especially considering they went so out of their way to, like, to make him very, very different. But in doing so, like, how do I put it? It really is the ultimate, like, the more things change, the more things stay the same. If, in this universe, the canon events are still going to be more or less the same, then truly, for any of them, they gotta play out somewhat similarly. You just gotta be, like, remixed in some way. One of my favorite moments in the Spider-Verse comics, if you've talked to me like in real life or like on Skype or whatnot, you've definitely heard me bring this one up because it affected me so much when I was reading the comics originally. It's in the original Spider-Verse, I think in the mainline, like 5 issues, where Puppeteer just has a goddamn crisis. He's freaking out, and when they ask what's going on, he's like, yeah, it turns out my entire life is just a weird, like, Indian parody of a white guy's life, and his is objectively the correct life. Like, we all spin off from him. But well, the biggest trauma in my life is that my Uncle Bim died, and you're telling me Uncle Bim is just an Indian flavored Uncle Ben? What the fuck? Like, we don't delve into that much in this movie, but like, it's something I think about constantly. Like, honestly, it stuck with me more about him than anything he did in his original, like, short run. To be fair, his original short run was also not very good. We did that really in the era of the manga verse. It was rough. As opposed to a Puppeteer who is legitimately super cool world. Really want to see more of him. Like, he really is just, like, emblematic of, the fun part of the movie. Like, even to the point where, like, in every other part of the movie, the Spider Society is either something we're looking up to or something extremely dangerous that, like, is going against Miles. And that is, like, the point where they're the big damn heroes, where they come in, they fix everything. But even then, that then begs the problem of, like, so you're telling me you guys can come in here and you can fix this whole situation that, yes, nominally the Spot has caused, but, like, you can be here and do all of this, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. As opposed to, like, the canon events. It's the ultimate, like, it seems like reality will just heal from anything except for these couple of things that are only, things that affect the spiders. It's so, like, it feels strange. It feels like there's definitely some sort of conspiracy going on. It feels too directed. Pavitra, very cool. Very happy to, see him, joining Miles' side by the end, or, like, Gwen's side, rather. Same with Hobie. Hobie is truly, like, of course, he steals the show. He's so unbelievably fucking cool. Where's a good Hobie shot? Yeah, he gets introduced around here. Yeah. But yeah, God, his animation is truly incredible. And again, like, I appreciate that with the characters as well. Like, you have flexibility in how they're animated. Like, there was a bit, like, further back with, I think it's this bit with the Vulture, actually. Or, like, it might not be exactly this bit, but, like, they do change the styles a lot, but they try to, like, maintain each character's vibe, even if, like, literally the way everything's being drawn is different. Like, even if, like, on the frames where they switch from using the CG models to doing something that's more painted or that's more 2D or whatnot, like, anytime you see that with, Spider-Man 2099, he's still glowing, he's still shiny, like, Gwen is still more painted than everyone else, with Vulture, we cut from, like, his, like, CG that has, like, all the, like, the sketch art all over it, to him being more of an actual sketch every once in a while. It's so good. The movie really knows how to, how to amplify that feeling of what the fuck am I looking at when they want everything to feel very incongruous, while at the same time managing to, like, merge everything together. So you don't have that feeling, like, when things get very messy of going, like, I can't tell what the hell is happening, or oh my god, this looks so bad, or this looks like a freak show. And yeah, I think Spider-Punk, like, I can't find, like, a good shot that fully encapsulates this. But yeah, he is that to a T. He's the ultimate, like, how the hell does this design work? Yeah, I also do just like him as, like, he is the parallel to Miles in that, he is, like, both the person that Miles is the most jealous of, but also he feels the most like a future Miles. Like, even the characters that are older than him do not feel like characters that he might turn into. Whereas Spider-Punk feels like, it's not that Miles will be Spider-Punk or, like, that he'll go this hard, but he really does feel like the alternate option of, like, listen, if the structures of society are really beating you down, you can just go against them. You can just do it. You're always allowed to. Fuck it. Yeah, his vibe is insanely cool. I love him from his comics as well. Like, if you want to just pick up some comics that aren't really attached to anything, like, he had, like, 4 issues, he had, like, a standalone 4 issues a while back. He also, of course, has his, like, Edge of Spider-Verse and Edge of Spider-Geddon comics, which are bangers as well. He's honestly the character that's, like, the least changed. I would just say that, like, Comic Hobie goes a little less hard, but only a tiny little bit less hard. Whereas everyone else, I feel like, is a pretty solidly, like, different take to some regard. Like, I wouldn't say Miles is like the Miles in the comics, but, that isn't a bad thing. Same with Gwen. Like, they've all grown in very different ways. I only realized on a reskim, by the way, that, when Hobie's, like, just stealing stuff, he's stealing the stuff that he's definitely using in order to make, the punk bracelet for Gwen, and presumably, like, if he has one for himself because he quits. It's so sick. He's just so effortlessly, unbelievably cool in a way that must have taken an enormous amount of effort to do. And then, of course, Miguel, the biggest standout. What the fuck is going on here? Is Miguel a vampire? You know what? Let me just check real quick. I'm 90% sure he's not a vampire. That's definitely not a thing, right? But we really bring it up we bring it up so smoothly that, it feels like just a classic, this is just a thing, this. But are we doing that because that's our real thing, or are we doing that just as a, by the way, we're just kind of sticking this in? Oh yeah, I forgot he did have the red eyes in the comics. But yeah, he didn't have a spider sense, but he does, I guess we don't know if he has a spider sense in this movie or not. He never has a spider sense moment, but most of them don't, to be perfectly fair. Oh, right, okay, yeah, he had the venom bites. Interesting. But yeah, I did a quick search for vampire as well, and even here, they don't bring it up as being a thing, which is interesting. I guess it could just be that they're describing it, but also he does try to take a big bite out of Vulture at one time. So that's immediately a question of what is going on there. I don't know if I brought it up in this discussion, by the way, so I'll say it again. I apologize for going oh yeah, what is Miguel's whole comedic thing? He doesn't really have one. When he does, he is the straight man, and he does go overly straight for the the vibe of the comedy. If he was a normal guy, it'd be fundamentally different from him, in this shot being so insanely stock still, letting Mayday just take a dump on him. But yeah, I've alluded to this a couple of times in this discussion, but I definitely think he's gotta be full of shit. It doesn't, there are too many threads that don't feel correct in a way that, every other part of the movie is so meticulous that the fact that, the fact that, his description of what's been going on, how canon events work, the fact that that doesn't feel like it lines up feels like an intentional plot point. Same with, I didn't really realize this until the movie ended, but, he's just, he tried to do the Kingpin thing. In a sense, he is a parallel to Miles because, in the same way that Kingpin was parallel to Miles, they were both, trying to regain their families, but one of them had already, lost their family of their own volition. The other one was, in the process of losing their family. Similarly, Miguel is in this weird situation where we don't really know what his deal is. He tries to describe his deal to Gwen. He gets cut off. But, he has all this technology. He has Alchemax, it seems like. He has the portals. He can go to other dimensions. He's appointed himself, the person who manages all the spider people and who manages the multiverse. But how did that happen? How did he become aware of all this? What is going on? We also at some point saw him perform an injection and his eyes glowed, which feels like a potential maybe he has artificial spider powers. I could definitely see that. If he is not fully connected to the web of life and destiny, but instead he's he's filling in as an artificial Spider-Man to try and do what needs to be done. It's interesting that I don't think he's a villain. I don't think in the third movie we would do a big twist where we go, by the way, he's a giant piece of crap. He's trying to destroy the multiverse or something. Instead, it just feels like something is going on with him. I feel similarly to all the other spider people, as I said, such a big part of the movie is that feeling of, I get why you're trying to do what you're doing, but you could have subverted a lot of this if you just talked about what the hell is going on. I feel that also applies to Miguel. He is such a weirdo. Again, why bring Miles to this place? What was he planning to do? What was the ultimate answer? Was he going to just execute Miles no matter what? Clearly not. Or I feel he would have done it already. Was he going to, tell Miles he has to live in another dimension from now on? Was he going to, what can you do? It does seem the other spiders definitely would not have been down with that, but, what was Miguel's plan here? That also feels like something that, it feels like he's playing something close to his chest. He's just not bringing it up for whatever reason. Yeah, I think Miguel's aesthetic is insanely strong. I love how wide he is. I love how they're really leaning into the lucha vibe. In addition to how to put it, the geometric patterns on him just feel very, very Mesoamerican. His design was always supposed to be that. It's a Day of the Dead costume, presumably. But I really appreciate how they managed to delve into that while also making him feel more futuristic at the same time. That's nuts. Like, I really like his white costume in the comics, the one he got like in the present when we did a whole thing. Um, but that truly pales in comparison to this costume. This costume is so instantly iconic. Plus, his riff. I said enough about the riff and the reaction itself. My God. And like, he's not the only one, but I could see how, in a sense, he is the only one in the sense that like he clearly has a unique situation going on. We don't know like the whole aspect of him replacing himself in another universe where he already had a child. It feels like that also parallels a lot with with Gwen and Miles both being children, like having that parent dynamic with like Peter B like being a parent on the other side of that. We've got the Spider-Woman as well. The idea that he is this like a failed parent of a sort. But then it also raises the question of like, why was him being there a problem? I guess that's a big question, actually. Like, he wasn't subverting a canon event, was he? Like, was that a world where he became Spider-Man and then died? Or is that a world where he is like, the Uncle Ben for like maybe let's say his daughter? Or was it a situation where like, how else would you put it? Because if he's just a random guy, it doesn't seem like there's any problem with just being a random person, just going to another universe and just hanging out. That doesn't seem to like destabilize things in any way that matters. They never talk about that. They're never like saying, only a certain number of us or only one of us can go to this world because it's too unstable. So yeah, very curious what's going on there. Like, there's also the possibility that yeah, if he's not a like true Spider-Man, quote unquote, that would still raise the question of like, what do you mean he went to another world and then caused the destabilization if it's only spider people that really do that? Like, end the spot because he's literally making giant holes. But yeah, when you put it like that, it is actually really interesting that the way that they progressed from the first movie, where we had, like the Kingpin making a big hole in reality to try and get his, his family back, was to turn the hole in reality into a character and to turn the Kingpin's concept of like, what if he had won? Well, things would have still fallen apart regardless, into another character. It's very poetic. Like, it takes something that could have felt extremely random and it makes it feel like perfect. It makes it feel like true. Like, how else could you have written a sequel? Going through the others, don't have a ton to say about George. Yeah, very curious to see if like him stepping down is going to like change things. Slash, like, again, like, if that does change things, what are the spiders supposed to do? Like, with the whole like Miles' dad dying thing, like, if Miles' dad gets saved, what do they do? Are they supposed to go there and assassinate the like the chief themselves? How do the canon events work? Because that's also not been on the table. And that, I feel like, is something that would definitely, like, would turn the core against everyone. If we did a hard, if someone has an Uncle Ben who survives, you gotta kill that Uncle Ben, or else the world is destroyed. Because, we didn't see the cleanup on, like, what was going on in Puffcheer's world. Like, did they run up to, what was his name in that world? Like, the commissioner or whatnot. Did they cap him in the face? Like, what happened there? That's a world where like Puffcheer, with the help of everyone else, saved everyone, did a great job, but that shouldn't work out. So again, why did they bother? In the same way that, like, I get why Gwen let go of Miles when Miles was running off to, try and like save things. But at the same time, like, I don't know why everyone else, like, didn't just allow it to happen if it really is that bad. If by not helping and by like just hoping that that the commissioner dies, that then we would then we would write the timeline. It is just fundamentally un-Spider-Man to let a tragedy happen in front of your eyes. And that is really like the entire concept of the Spider Society. Is we've all resigned ourselves to accepting that no, we should actually we should stand off to the side while the robber runs past us. Like, of course we can't regret that. That was inherently required in order for us to become heroes, which then led to a lot of other good. Like, that is inherently a concept that makes sense if you're talking about like comics in the in the abstract. But the moment you start trying to apply that to reality, it feels crazy. And like, that is the exercise that this movie is doing. It is treating treating everything as realistically as you can. How insane is it to hear someone say, "Yeah, your dad's got to die because it's the canon event. It happens all the time." Oh, I see the evil Miles is Miles G. Morales. Wonder what that stands for. Is it just green? I guess that might be it. It could be as simple as that. Like, yeah, in the same way that like Peter B. Parker's clearly like, the B version of like Peter Parker. Oh, Andy Samberg was Ben Riley. God damn. It definitely explains like I appreciate the extreme density of cameos because there are so many that I did not recognize, which feels crazy to me. Like when we get to Spider Society, what did it look like when we went in? Oh, yeah. Oh, what the hell is this design? What the hell is growing out of your head? But yeah, like Malala Windsor, not familiar with. I mean, she's a Spider UK, and I know Spider UK. But yeah, interesting, like, a twist then on him. Got a black suit here that's not the superior design. But yeah, that's a stealth suit, but I don't remember which one. Like, some of these might just be, like general recolors, or you have things like, the red and black, where it's like, what do you say the red and black is? Are you saying that's like the first one, or are you saying that's more like the MCU one? I guess it wouldn't be the MCU one, because the MCU one has, like, the bands on it. Yeah, oh my god. What an insane overload. I can't imagine having to hear all these quips all the time. Dear God, you would go insane. Oh my God. Who are you, shushing Spider-Man? We heard, like, I think, like, a cough or a shush at the start of the movie as well. I was wondering if that was going to come up as, like, a thing, but it didn't. So that does make me wonder, like, will that play into the third movie, or was that just a gag? It was a cough. So yeah, like, is that just supposed to be like a cough in the movie theater, or like we could do something else as well? Who knows? It is very striking that, similar to, of course, The Flash, we got to really do like big floating panels full of references, but in a way that, again, made sense. That didn't feel like we were just doing shit to do shit. Like, which is crazy because, like, we have, like, straight up, like screens where you see, like, a clip from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, or like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Like, it's nuts. The only thing that felt like truly like, did we need to do this was, of course, not this, but like earlier on when Spot like goes to the world of Venom. That was so buck wild. That was the most like we gotta include Venom in this somehow. That felt Sony mandated. It was fun. Like, I do like that lady, but it was like that's really the only thing that made me go like, okay, this feels a little bit like The Flash. Oh, where was it? Where was the lineup of curled up sad Spider-Men? But yeah, putting that into perspective, also, like, how do I put it? I can understand the fatalism here. Once more, I can understand why, like, so many of them are so like, well, it all happened for us. It had to have happened. Like, there's no going around it. There's no changing things. We, like, even if, going forward, we want to try and do whatever we can to, to break the limits. We understand now there are some limits that are just there. They're just gonna happen. You just have to deal with it. It truly feels so dark. Like, Spider-Man to me is a symbol of hope. And so it is crazy to have, again, like, an entire society that has no hope in this exact scenario. It's the ultimate, like, well, of course we care about these other things, but, there's some things you literally can't deal with. It's so striking for Miles to be so completely and totally on his own here. Like, Hovey is, on his side, but, he's not showing it in this moment. So it really is, like, narratively, all the Peters, all the, like, everyone else's, they are all leaving him out to dry. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, is that spectacular? Yeah, that's spectacular. Interesting rendition. I mean, like, the main way you can tell, like, apart from the proportions, is, like, the little dot here. It's the ultimate, like, if you don't notice it, you don't notice it. Once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. But, oh, that's sick as hell. I was confused, just like, what the hell we were doing here. Oh, is that, like, a Flash Spider-Man? Flash Thompson, not the Flash, which I brought up earlier. Is that a GIMP mecha? What the fuck is happening here? Dear God, this isn't gonna just boil down into me, like, looking at, like, references. That's for the next, like, 7 times I watch this movie. But I gotta admit, it's so sick. I think I started going down this path because I just wanted to look at Ben. Such a good Ben. I cannot believe they animated him like this. It's so good. Anyways, all that together, do I have any concrete notes? I mean, I guess also I should probably go over Miles, right? I kept saying I'm going to save Miles until the end, and I didn't do him. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. Everyone bounces off of him. He is the special boy. He is truly the only one. Like, even Spots, like, despite, there are parallels, but they are not the same in terms of their deal. Like Spot is the ultimate Spider-Man villain. He had a slight happen to him. He's, freaking out. He will destroy everything because, like his life personally is ruined, so everything else should also be ruined. Whereas, like, Miles, I think, is, the exact reverse of that. He has had the one life that hasn't been ruined, and everyone else is begging him, like, no, 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 you gotta let it happen. You gotta let it happen. We didn't let it happen. A bad tragedy happens to us. But for you, because you have this forbidden knowledge now, you have to just sit by and allow all the bad things to happen, because otherwise you're not Spider-Man. Like, I think a big part of the third movie is going to be, like, interrogating that question of, like, did the Peter in his world already go through all that? And then on top of that, the question of, like, the greater question of, are these canon events canon? Like, this universe, like Earth 42 doesn't seem to be like all torn up or anything. There's no glitching going on here. Like, Miles is the only one who glitches here. And yet that's a world with no Spider-Man. And, like, presumably it's not great. Like, we have, like, the Sinister Six, gangs that are, like, running about. It's probably a world that's more, like, crime-ridden and more dark. But it hasn't, like, imploded. A giant hole hasn't opened up to destroy everyone. So again, like, if the complete absence of a Spider-Man, and therefore, the skipping of all of those canon events is totally fine, then, like, what the hell is going on? How could replacing one Spider-Man be such a big problem? Or alternatively, how could, saving one person lead to, like, absolute calamity? I feel like because Miles is unique, because he is the only one who has, like, his specific situation, he is a Spider-Man that absolutely should not be. I feel like, if the canon events are a real thing, like, if that is just how this reality works, then I feel like he might be the one who, like, changes the whole system. The one who manages to completely rewrite how things work, like what can be canon and what can't be canon. Because, like, it is a multiverse. And, like, the thing with Marvel is that the multiverse has always been intentionally inherently limited. It isn't what we think of when we think of multiverse theory, which is, like, there are literally infinite of all realities, and every single one has an infinite number of variations of itself going on forever. Like, if that were the case, then there would be, like, infinite Mileses who would all be in this scenario, who, would have all, like, gotten their powers from spiders from other dimensions where that shouldn't have happened. Because, that's just, like, multiverses, like, as we would know it through, like, real-world multiverse theory. But the way it works both in the comics and it seems like in the movie is, like, there are a limited number of universes, and how that limit is decided is, ambiguous. Like, are there just, like, do you have to have like a set amount of variation before you become a viable universe? Like, how does it all play out? Knowing that the third movie is beyond the Spider-Verse really feels like we are going to either, like, create new dimensions, or, like, we will realize, like, oh, like, the Spider-Verse isn't just, like, a system that lets you travel between realities, but it's also, like, a net holding them in, and there are, like, worlds even beyond this. Because I could see that being the solution for a lot of things. Like, if we just happen to be in this, like, weird situation where, like, because the Spider-Mans are what connect all these universes, therefore the spiders are extremely important, therefore, like, these life things have to happen to all of them. Whereas, like, if you broaden it out, I could see things getting a lot looser. Like, of course, this movie's too thick. I think I know who the robot was. Was that the Peter from the universe where, like, everyone, like, got swiveled around? Or that was Bruce who then, like, entered a giant robot, right? Or was it Bruce that became Spider-Man? Oh, I can never remember how that went down. That's my best guess. Because, like, I'm talking about the robot that I pointed out earlier and went, what the fuck is that? Not the one that Penny goes into. That's obviously, like, the Ava-esque robot that she had, like, in the comics, kind of. It's still way too small, but, it's closer. It's closer. Huh. It is interesting that Eddie Brock... Yeah, is that supposed to be Eddie, or is that Peter from Spider-Man 3? It could really go either way. Either way, the fact that Venom showing up and possessing someone is, like, a part of, like, the canon, that every universe will have that happen, is a really funny concept. But again, I can't deny it. If the canon is, like, this is what the writers will do, like, given a long enough time, given the viability of the universe, we will go through all these plot lines. Like, yeah, with any Spider character, like, eventually we're gonna get, the commissioner dying, or the police chief dying, rather. We're gonna get a Venom arc. We're gonna get, like, some variation on, like, so many of these things. I can't shout all of them out. That looks like Spider-Man No More, which makes sense. You got the bites of earlier. I know I also saw, well, yeah, the death of Uncle Ben, obviously. Oh, there was another one that really stood out to me. Oh, yeah, this is the lineup of all the dead Bens. Oh, that's so sick. Or, like Ben analogs at the very least. Person who dies who then, teaches you about power and responsibility or whatnot. Well, I guess that's supposed to be the police chiefs. Whatever. You get the idea. There's an important person who dies. You know how it goes. Oh, that's interesting. Getting married, does that count as a canon event? You would assume so. Oh, that's sick as hell. Yeah, Spider-Punk did a Spider-Punk No More at some point. Spider-Woman did the, oh shit, what was that called again? Issue 33 of Spider-Man. The big, I'm pinned under all this crap, but I gotta lift it up. And of course, the marriage for the one who obviously got married. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. What is going on here? Oh, I didn't notice that. Yeah, they're all looking at, this event going oh, I guess this is the thing that happens to everyone. What the fuck is going on with Gwen over here? She looks dead. Yeah, she looks like she's in the Pieta position. She doesn't look like she's doing a thing. That's, How much more would we see? Okay, never mind. She's just swinging. She's swinging. She's fine. She's not dead. We're good. Whew. God, I love this aesthetic for 2099's flashback. Going into what I said near the start of the video, that I appreciate that, singular characters can have multiple styles to them. That, for their flashbacks, we get a different style from, their actual, the way their universe feels. Oh, it's so good. It massively makes everything feel so much bigger and so much, more physical. Same honestly with Spot. I don't know what I would describe this style as being, but it's so insanely cool. Oh, God damn. Something that didn't occur to me, obviously in the movie itself, I thought it was cool that, because they all have spider powers, they can just, use every surface to walk on. It didn't occur to me, this is just a giant web. It's this hard steel web. But fundamentally, it is designed to be like this gigantic web. Which also makes sense both in a, it ties them all together. It allows them all to, live here. It's a web big enough for, all of these spiders to share. But also definitely then when, when Miles is, busting his way out, he is, escaping the web of the spider people. Is this Spider-Man from the PS4 game? And then, I am not familiar with the T-Rex Spider-Man, but I totally get it. What would his name be? I'm guessing it would just be Peter Raptor or something. Even though he is a T-Rex, there's gotta be a better way to say that. Okay, yeah, this is the Spider-Man I was thinking of before, and I was like, is that a giant robot? No, this is a post-apocalyptic Spider-Man. He actually looks a lot like, the post-apocalyptic Spider-Man? The one. He's missing an arm. He's got, the spiky thing here. He's got, an eye patch. I don't know if this one has an eye patch. Oh, shit. I feel like that's got to be a riff on that one. Though it could be, a different universe that also did that design because it's so iconic. Because, yeah, same with the cat, where I assume that was probably Spider-Man from the games, but, in the games, he cannot, spit webs, whereas I assume this is, the universe where he can. It didn't occur to me until right now that this is training to do the classic Spider-Man, I gotta pull the two things together. Which I wouldn't say is that much of a classic Spider-Man thing. It really is just, stopping the train in Spider-Man 2, and then he does a, version of that in, in Homecoming. He, has to, pull the ship together. And I think we do a version of that in PS4 as well. But yeah, that's definitely what this is alluding to. It's the, increasing your pull things together grip area. But yeah, it's crazy we didn't really, follow up on all the villains that they have captured as well. Also, oh my god, the whole aesthetic here, the only thing I kept saying in the movie is, this feels so weird for it to be Nueva York, considering, the vibe of it in the comics. But then we do plunge underground in a little bit, and then we hit this where it's yeah, this feels like the Nueva York I remember. Not quite. It's above ground in the comics. But that's a really cool way to do both. To do the utopia and the dystopia. To do the bright future and the seedy underbelly. Which feels a lot also 2099's whole deal. What is going on with him? Like, is he a good guy who is doing bad things in the pursuit of being a good guy? Or, like, does he have darker intentions that he's been using his good deeds as a smokescreen for? We could really go either way. I would say, like, this whole sequence from, like, when Gwen leaves to, like, the next couple of cuts, like, in this world, like, the very green world, which also I do associate this exact tone of green with Miles. Like, with the context from later on, it feels like more villainous, but it didn't read as villainous to me immediately because, like, this is definitely the green I think of when I think of, like, classic Miles. I don't know why, actually. I'm sure there's a couple of covers that use it. I think his card in Marvel Snap also uses it, but it just immediately stands out as being not his world. And then we cut around a fair bit, like, like this is Peter B's world, and then we, like, we see Gwen's world. Like, it's so striking how, like, by this point in the movie, like, they're so completely comfortable with showing you the delineations in the dimensions that they can just do this and make you go, like, yeah, obviously you can just pick up where is where. And even this, again, it's so insanely cool to me that we just are in this different world, and they just let you, like, come to the realization yourself. Like, like, we get the big reveal later on, like, what exactly it is. But we just have this total palette shift in a movie that is begging you to think about the palette, that's begging you to think about the art style, and just lets you sit there thinking, this feels weird. This feels different. What the hell happened? We know it scanned Miles, so it should have sent him to his world, but, like, did it fuck up? What went wrong? And yeah, it does say a lot as well that, like, it scans, the spider more than the person. It also feels like a real, like, how do I put it? That we are, like, I say the spiders a lot to refer to the spider people, but it does feel like, the web is thinking about literally the spiders. They're like, like, this spider energy belongs to this world. And, like, a person, needs to have that energy and be in this world in order to maintain order, except, of course, for all the worlds where all the spider people go to Miguel's world in order to just hang out all the time. Again, like, how do they know they're not missing a canon event? What the fuck? God, this whole sequence of Gwen is so insanely striking. I don't have a lot to say about it, like, along with a lot of, the art direction, like, it's just extremely effective. It's the kind of thing I'm going to be watching again and again and again. God damn. I truly cannot believe they made this movie. Anyways, I think I'm spinning my wheels now. I don't have much else to, like, properly say, so we'll leave it there. My guesses for the third movie, I think, are a big, like, we're gonna have a big spider war. I don't think there's gonna be, like, a secret true villain behind it all. I do think it is just going to be, like, the situations. I think it's going to be, like, we'll see what Miguel is, like, truly being driven by, like, what secrets he's been keeping. We'll also, like, I don't think the Spot's keeping any secrets, but I think we'll have to have, like, a big proper fight with him. We'll have to, like, deal with his shit. I don't know if we kill him or if we, like, save him. Maybe we'll tie him up and turn him into the Master Weaver. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Beyond the Spider-Verse feels like we might do, like, a much bigger crossover thing, but I kind of hope we don't. Like, I hope we keep it mostly spider connected. Like, I hope that the Beyond is more like, maybe we'll see, like, the various Spider-Man, like, like, characters that were in things like, the various Avenger cartoons and whatnot. I think that'd be pretty cool. But I do want to maintain somewhat spider-centric as opposed to, like, going full absolute anything can happen multiversal. Because I think Across really walked that line of, like, is this a little too much? And I think it's fine, but it was still a lot. I feel there's got to be a solid, like, 30 minutes easy of reaction in this movie where I'm just fucking completely spaced out because I can't comprehend what's happening. But yeah, if you have any questions, any theories, if you want to chat with me about it, go to the Discord server or just write a message down below. I read all my comments. Let me know what you think. We'll see if this even goes out or if I feel too cringe about it. I'll catch you next time for next Spider-Man. I'll try to do Beyond more timely than I got around to Across. If you want to hear me talking more about Spider-Man, I guess go to Donut's channel. It's probably linked down below. We got a, like, definitely a No Way Home reaction. I don't know if we covered anything else. He covered the other Spider-Man movies, and I'm in the discussions for those if those are still up. Also, I guess My Hero Academia is where I talk the most about Spider-Man. If you want someone to not do a My Hero reaction, but instead to just randomly start talking about Spider-Man, you can check those out as well. Anyways, that's that. Catch you next time. Also, if there's any other things Like, let me know. Just let me know. Okay, that's. Bye for now. Yeah, yeah. What did I mean by things? What am I talking about?